All right, all right. Hello and welcome. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams. This show goes out on 97.7 FM, the beat of the capital, as well as right here on the TSJW Network YouTube channel. So if you're watching us, please be sure to hit that subscribe button to the TSJW Network YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button right now. Also, please continue to watch or listen to the pregame show. And it is Saturdays at 9 a.m. So, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We got a lot going on today. We've got a big interview coming up with head coach of the Hattiesburg Tigers football team, Tony Vance. He just announced his retirement just about a month ago, and we have a full-length interview with him for you here today. But before we start getting into that, we will get into a little bit of basketball around the state of Mississippi. So right now, if we look at the Max Preps rankings, of course, at the top is still Germantown High School. So Germantown right now, still at the number one spot, I do believe, in the state of Mississippi. And, they have Mo Williams' sons on the team. They are number one. They're 14-3 record overall. Columbus sitting at the number two spot. A 6A program, 15-3. Starkville, 16-4. Starkville's done really well. They beat Clinton the other day, and so Starkville has had a good start to their season. And right now, what we've had going on in basketball is some region games, some district games here in basketball around the state of Mississippi. But I will say nothing more than what we've seen. Clinton and Tupelo had a very, very, very good and close ball game. A game that Tupelo ends up winning, I do believe, by very close margins. And so that was a good ball game there. And, but I will say, overall in the state of Mississippi, we are about to get into region play very heavily this upcoming week. And so we saw Jackson Prep take on Oak Forest Academy. So these are two top 10 teams in the state of Mississippi. They're both in the same district. They're both 6A private schools in the MAIS. Oak Forest getting the win 55-54. Very close game. Oak Forest was hosting. They get the win there. St. Joseph Catholic plays St. Joseph High School, 71-20 win. That's a 51-point win there for them. MRA wins by 42. That's non-district over Bayou Academy. Hattiesburg and Biloxi taking each other on. Biloxi beats Hattiesburg 67-54. West Jones defeating Pascagoula 68-52. These games happened on Saturday, January 4th, then on Monday, January 6th. What we saw from around the state, we saw St. Andrews Episcopal beat Pisgah 64-27. And then Tuesday, January 7th, we did see a game here. Oak Forest Academy taking on Park Lane Academy. Park Lane had a really good season last year. They're coached by Alex Ainsworth. He used to coach me a little bit in college at Mississippi College when I played for the basketball team there for the Choctaws. But they a little bit of a down year this year, recovering from a big year they had last year. Park Lane loses that one by 25 to Oak Forest Academy. Oak Forest on a roll right now. They're looking pretty good. Central Hines Academy against Clinton Christian. Central Hines winning 67-49 on the road. That's a district game right there. Raymond and Lanier. So Lanier, this is very interesting to the people around the Jackson area. Lanier has had a very good season thus far. They are the 13th ranked team in the state of Mississippi. They take on the Raymond Rangers, and coming away with the win is the Lanier Bulldogs. They win 47-36. Very low scoring game. Lanier is 15-3 on the year and getting a big win there against Raymond at home. Raymond not at their highest of levels, but it's still Raymond. The Raymond Rangers, very good basketball program, coached there by Tony Tadlock, but they fall short to Lanier by 11 points there. We've talked about the Muddy River Counselors on this show. They're the top homeschool team in the state of Mississippi. They continue their reign, defeating the Meridian homeschool team 103-61. They win by 42 points. It was a big game for the Counselors as two of their players had superstar performances. So Caleb Sanders led the team in scoring. He scored 44 points against Meridian in that ball game in the 103-point performance for the Counselors. Then son Michael Williams, who leads the state in assists, gets another triple-double. So Caleb Sanders had just come off a 31-point performance, and then son Michael Williams had just come off a triple-double in the game before it as well. So 2 straight triple-doubles for son Michael Williams, 2 straight 30-plus point performances for Caleb Sanders. And so now that's big for those guys. And I mean, Williams leads the state in assists, averaging 8.7. His averages are 20 points, 8.7 assists, 8.6 rebounds. For Caleb Sanders, he's averaging 19 points as well as 6 assists and 8 rebounds, as well as averaging over 5 steals. He's the 3rd-ranked steals man in the state of Mississippi. So a lot of good star power there from the Counselors, and they get another big win. They're 18-0 on the year. They are ranked 25th in the state of Mississippi. And so then you look over, you got Laurel Homeschool taking on Lamar Christian. Lamar Christian gets that win very easily. Velma Jackson beats McAdams High School 60-36. Provine Natchez have a really good game. That's a win for Natchez, 54-48 over Provine. Is a very close ball game there. Ridgeland and Warren Central. So this is a district game between the two teams in a 6A district, and Ridgeland getting the win. Ridgeland's had a great year. They're top 5 team in the state. 70-62 win for Ridgeland High School. Gulfport and Ocean Springs. This one handled by Gulfport, the number 10th team in the state. 62-46 win for Gulfport over Ocean Springs. Pearl and Northwest Rankin. Northwest Rankin winning 63-51. Here's another real good one. Hattiesburg and Terry district matchup. Terry wins by 1 point. 47-46. Wow, what a game. So now, what you're seeing is it's starting to tighten up here. And you're seeing district play, and that's where it really matters. Yazoo City against Canton, another district matchup, 71-70. That's a barn burner right there. Yazoo City beats Canton 71-70. Here's another one. South Jones against Florence. Now, South Jones, of course, has Ashton McGee on their team. He transferred from MRA. They win over Florence 49-32. They're number 9 team in the state. DeSoto Central handling Oxford 70-51. Columbus and Callaway, another district matchup, 65-36 win for Columbus over Callaway. Columbus, the 2nd-ranked team in the state. And then Leake Central, who's had a very good year, 78-60 win over Northeast Lauderdale. Leake Central is 17th ranked in the state. Olive Branch beating Center Hill 72-60. Oak Grove and Brandon. Oak Grove, they got hammered by Brandon. They lose by 36 points to the Brandon Bulldogs, 66-30. Oak Grove hasn't had the greatest of seasons. They're already 0-3 in district play, and they're 6-10 overall. So they're not really having the greatest of seasons, and they got handled pretty good there by Brandon in that matchup. Clinton and Starkville. So this game was located in Starkville, where these two teams matched up. Starkville winning by 10 points. It's a district matchup there as well. Good game there. Hillcrest Christian taking on Porter's Chapel. District game. Win for Hillcrest 60-22. They hammer them. And then you got Hartfield Academy and Jackson Academy. Big-time matchup in district play, 59-50 win for JA over Hartfield. And then another district matchup, Jackson Prep and St. Joseph Catholic. So St. Joe's, they came into the matchup 17-1 in the season. Jackson Prep, top team in the state. They were doing very well. They've played some real tough competition, Jackson Prep has. They beat St. Joe's 62-42, a 20-point win. So St. Joseph's going to have to go back to the old drawing board on that one. PCS and MRA. MRA wins 68-60 over PCS at home. 18th ranked team in the state, MRA, getting the win 68-60. So we had a big day there on Tuesday. And then looking at Thursday here around the state, Vicksburg taking on Ridgeland. Ridgeland getting that win. Ridgeland gets back-to-back wins over the Vicksburg Public Schools, beating Warren Central 70-62, beating Vicksburg 71-55. Starkville, Madison Central, another district game. Starkville getting another win, 57-52. Starkville looking good. Looks like they're doing a good job winning ball games. They beat Clinton by 10 and then beat Madison Central by 5. Those are games very competitive, but they're able to take care of business and get the win. So it's always big. Whenever you're coaching basketball teams, a very, very important thing is being able to win basketball games. You got to be able to win them because if you're able to play well throughout the game but you can't finish them, that's tough. But Starkville obviously able to win basketball games thus far. Lamar Christian hammering Newton County Academy 61-20. Terry beats Jim Hill 50-41. That was a very close game there. District opponents. Jim Hill at Jackson Public School. Terry in the Jackson area. So definitely 50-41 win for Terry on the road. So Terry's doing well right now. They beat Hattiesburg by 1 at home. They beat Jim Hill on the road by 9. So good go for Terry here in district play. So going to kind of look at this a little bit harder. Terry, 9-9 overall, but they're 5-0 in district, and that's what matters, folks. Your overall record does not matter. And they had a tough start. They lost their first 3 games, lost to Clinton, lost to Raymond, lost to Choctaw Central, all good teams, and all by single digits. Then they beat Meridian, beat Crystal Springs, lose to Madison Central, beat Northwest Rankin, lose to Ridgeland, lose to Tupelo, lose to Germantown. These are all very good basketball teams. So Terry has really prepared themselves with a tough schedule. Their other loss was to Lanier, but they beat Pearl River Central, beat Forest Hill. Those are both district opponents. And then they beat West Jones by a lot, beat them by 33 points. That's a district opponent. Beat Hattiesburg by 1, beat Jim Hill by 9. So Terry is a team to watch out for, as so far they're off to a good start to district play. 5-0, the Terry Bulldogs at number 1 in their district. South Jones taking on Provine district matchup. South Jones getting the win again, 66-53. They've had a good season thus far. They get another win there. And then Heritage Academy beating Starkville Academy 59-35. So those are some of the scores that we've seen from around the state of Mississippi, and basketball is full-blown going. We got the Rumble of the South coming up in a couple of weeks. We'll see some big blockbuster matchups on that week. That's hosted at Mississippi College, and but we got a lot coming up to talk about. And we look forward to having some interviews with some notable players and coaches in basketball. But today we have an interview with a legendary football coach in the state of Mississippi. It is Coach Tony Vance. Made the playoffs 16 of his 17 years as a head coach. Just announced his retirement from Hattiesburg High School as head coach. And he's open to opportunities for the future for him. So Coach Vance will be joining us. We're about to go to break, but he'll be joining us when we come back. This is the pregame show. I'm your host, Trellis Williams. This is 97.7, the beat of the capital, as well as the TSJW Network. We will be back in a moment. Okay, we are back. This is the pregame show. I am your host, Trellis Williams. Right here, the pregame show is on 97.7 as well as on the TSJW Network. And today we have a very special guest. It is Coach Tony Vance. He is right there on the right side of your screen. He just stepped aside as head coach for the Hattiesburg Tigers, but in his 17-year career thus far, he made the playoffs 16 out of 17 years. Very impressive. He's also had other achievements with his players off the field as well, and we will talk about that a little later on. But Coach, I really appreciate you joining us right here on the show.
Well, Travis, man, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to getting this done, and glad we're finally able to connect and get it done.
Absolutely. I want to start with a more broad question. You've been coaching high school football, and so there's a lot of responsibility there with leading kids that are becoming young men. And so just more broadly, what does it mean to be a coach?
Well, I think first of all, man, I tell any young coach that'll listen to me or old, like myself, just, first of all, you have to have a passion for what you do, and obviously I tell everyone, if you're going to be a good coach, then you got to be a great teacher as well. So I think you have to have a passion for teaching young men and understanding how each one learns differently. I think that's kind of where it starts, and kind of taking kids where they are and getting them to understand where you're trying to get them to be, and want them to be, and making sure. I think it starts with them having a goal for a purpose for what they're trying to accomplish throughout sports, and making sure that you always keep it about them and what they're trying to accomplish. I think a big part of that for me is trying to meet with those guys at some point, one-on-one, say, tell me what you're trying to do, and make sure that we list that down, and hey, are the things you're doing now going to help you accomplish what you told me you really want to try to do? So I think just having a passion for it and understanding where they are and where they want to be and trying to help them get there. So in short, I guess, having an impact on these young people in a positive way.
Yeah, and I know that those goals can range in what they are, of course, and you're working with them there. So I know you've been coaching. You've been coaching since you were a young man. Just take us through those early years and how you gained your confidence as a coach, because obviously at the beginning you weren't as confident as you are right now.
Well, that's true, man. I've always been a positive person, man, and I always seen the glass half full rather than half empty. Just kind of the way I choose to view things in life, but, got my career started at Coffeyville, kind of stumbled up on that career, and, started off, as a paraprofessional in this thing, and just, learning, how to coach. And so I started my first year at Coffeyville High School, and I was a defensive coordinator my very first job, and I probably was the, farthest thing from being ready to be a defensive coordinator as I was to fly a rocket ship, but, got my foot in the door, learned a lot of what I didn't know. And, from there I was able to get on back to Charleston and, learn there, and, was fortunate enough to coach under some good guys there and learn a lot from them. Jimmy Link, Jamie Mitchell, who's one of my mentors in this profession, and, even Perry Lyles in my second stint at Charleston. So learned a lot from those guys of what to do and some what not to do, So I always tell guys that you should learn a lot from guys, what to do or what's not to do. And I think that's a big part of it as a coach. So you can develop your own philosophy on how you want to do things when you get the opportunity to become a head coach. But just those early years, man, started out as position coach, coaching defensive backs and wide receivers. That's kind of where I cut my teeth and, made my niche in the coaching profession, being a receivers coach and a DB coach. And, had some opportunities come along because I feel like I did a great job at those. To move on from one school to the other one as a position coach, and took full advantage of those opportunities. Some great coaches and learned a lot of football.
Absolutely. So, just looking at your rap sheet right here, 2008. You're there at Charleston High School now as the head of varsity football coach. And so now once you get your own team, I know that's going to be a lot different than being an assistant coach in a lot of ways, just because you're the one calling the shots. Just talk about that difference, jumping into being a head coach from being a coordinator or an assistant coach.
Yeah, man, I got to give a lot of credit. Again, I learned a lot from Jamie Mitchell. I remember when he took the job at Olive Branch. And he took me along with him. The first thing he told me was I was going to be the head ninth grade football coach, which back then was a 5A program. That was the biggest classification in the state back then.
Yeah.
So a lot of people forget that. But, yeah, 5A used to be the largest classification. So I think we was Olive Branch had like 1,800 students, at that school. So it was a huge school back then. But I became the head ninth grade coach, and he told me I was going to coach offensive line. And I looked at him like, Coach, I don't know anything about offensive line. And I vividly remember him telling me, well, you're about to learn. And probably the best thing he ever did for me in my career. So I learned to coach offensive line. So, obviously going from coaching receivers and defensive backs my whole career to coaching offensive line was, quite the challenge. So,
that's different.
But, so I had to go out there and quickly learn, how to coach offensive linemen. And, so I think when I figured that part out, that I could coach offensive linemen, I think that's when my confidence as a coach grew, knowing that I could coach any position on the field. So when we were able to get back to Charleston, I was able to take over the middle school program at Charleston. Craig Walker, one of my other mentors in this profession, long time junior high coach, track coach at Charleston High School. Did the Mississippi Road Runs. The guy that started that program that's still going on now with summer track. But Coach Walker came to my house one Sunday morning and let me know he was about to, retire from coaching and wanted me to have an opportunity to replace him. I played for Coach Walker, obviously, when I was in middle school at Charleston. So kind of took that on for 2 years and became the head middle school football coach while still, assistant with the varsity program. But those 2 years and learning how to run my own program there at Charleston and being completely in charge of what we did from, pregame meals, postgame meals, and, buses and all that stuff really gave me a great opportunity to learn how to lead. That with the, being a ninth grade head coach at Olive Branch, I think those two things really prepared me, to run my own program. So when I got the opportunity to be the head coach at Charleston High School, I felt like I was probably more prepared than most people are when they become head coaches. So, obviously we understood the magnitude of being the head varsity coach compared to being the head middle school coach, but I really didn't change much. I did it pretty much the same way, and obviously the biggest difference was having, to go from, being, in charge of one or two guys to, 5 or 6 guys at the varsity level for us, assistant coaches. So, navigate through that early on in my career and learned a lot, from, just early on in my career as a young head football coach on how to lead men and, how to be a leader in the coach's office and doing those things and, making sure my assistants understood what my expectations were of them and, starting to learn to put things on paper and not just say it. And give it to them and, being organized and being prepared. So there's 2 things I always prided myself on. We're going to be organized. We're going to be prepared. We're going to have a plan. So, I think that really helped me have a lot of success early on. So I give a credit again to Coach Craig Walker at Charleston Middle School that, saw fit to, hey, want me to be the guy to replace him after almost 30 years of coaching at the middle school. So that really helped me and gave me a lot of confidence as well.
Yes, and another big leadership role that you've had at some of these schools, particularly at Charleston and Hattiesburg, is you've spent some time as athletic director as well, and now you're jumping into other sports, and and all that as well, and just more of a leadership position even than coaching. So just kind of talk about that experience, your experience of being an athletic director in addition to being head football coach.
Again, just kind of taking what my philosophy was as a head football coach and taking that into that, avenue of being the athletic director at those schools and, understanding that, it's not just about your sport, and I think the philosophy I took on with that was like, I'm going to put my sport last and put everybody else's sport first and make sure we take care of those guys and their sports. Yeah. And I think by doing that, you build confidence and trust in those coaches leading those programs that you're going to do what's best, not just for your sport, but the whole entire athletic program. So, I had a lot of success, experienced a lot of success as an athletic director, had a lot of coaches in their respective sport, win state championships and, was certainly proud to be a part of that and the role I played. But I always wanted to be there to support our coaches and their goals and what they were trying to accomplish and their teams. I think that was very important that, those guys saw you at their games supporting them.
Yes, and you spent 17 years as a head coach, but you've been involved in coaching in high school there since '97. So it's been a good while. So just kind of talk about things have changed, in sports. Just kind of talk about some areas where coaching has changed in high school sports.
Yeah, so like I said, I've been doing it a long time. When I started coaching, everybody was under center with a fullback and a tailback in the backfield, maybe 2 receivers, So, that's what offense looked like when I started coaching. Defensively, everybody's probably pretty much in a 4-4 or 5-2. That's about the only 2 defense people ran back then. So you didn't see the 3-3 stack or, even the 3-4, true 3-4 as you see now, the 4-2-5. So, to see the, I guess the way that offenses have evolved, the way defenses have evolved, the way coaches coach compared to when we first started. I remember getting up as a young assistant coach, even as a head coach, driving an hour or 2 to trade VHS tapes of game film, and then went from VHS tapes, and you may have a VHS tape from a coach and you're watching a game film and you get to the end, you may have a rerun of Sanford and Son on the end,
that's right.
Over. So I think that was a big part of it. But then going from that to DVDs and then all of a sudden seeing it evolve from having to travel an hour or 2 to trade game film. Hey, you do it on Huddle at the touch of fingers now on your phone or whatever. So, just that part of it obviously has evolved. I think the other part of it just, I think coaches now, have more resources than ever before. I remember when I first started coaching, if you didn't go watch a team practice, you probably couldn't get an idea of what a new drill would look like. If you didn't do that, you had to try to make a phone call or even write a letter to a coach. It wasn't even emails, wasn't even a thing that you did way back then. Just to be honest, write a letter to a coach or go say, "Hey, coach, do you mind sending me your drill tape?" And it'll come in the mail in a VHS. So those were the beginnings of my days. And now you just have resources at your fingertips, whether it's YouTube or jumping on a website or even doing things like we're doing now. Everybody kind of got familiar with Zoom during COVID. So, even from Zoom meetings. So I think just the resources coaches have at their, disposal now has changed the game. And, and I don't want to say it's made coaches better coaches, because there were some great coaches back then. But I think it's giving them an opportunity to expand a lot from their learning style, and seeing other people do it. So, just that part of it. And just over the last, 27 years.
Yes, look, hey, Coach, look, if I got some game film and it had Sanford and Son on it, I'd consider that to be a score. So,
definitely.
Oh, yeah. But so another really cool thing, Coach, is that so you've had a lot of success with your players in terms of their academics. So from 2014, 2024, 11 seasons, your football team's been named to the Scholar Athlete teams. And that's a very good thing, very successful thing, good reflection on you, Coach. So just tell us the work that goes into that and, the leadership that goes into that to have your players in mass performing that well in the classroom.
Well, again, I think it goes back to expectations, and I was the 12th of 13 children coming up, come from a single parent household. And so truly understood the importance of getting a high school diploma. Understood that, for most of us, that's going to be your avenue to, having a chance in life, to do something other than, I'm from Charleston, Mississippi. I raised in a little small rural community called Tippo, and there's a lot of farmland down there. We were farmers at one time, so, I grew up, chopping cotton way back then. Never picked no cotton, but, grew up chopping cotton and, pouring concrete and farming, just understood early on that if that wasn't what you wanted to do, for the rest of your life, then you need to go to school and, get your high school diploma and give yourself a chance. And that worked for me and a lot of my siblings. I'm proud to say it was 13 of us. And I think out of the 13, I think 10 graduated high school, 11 graduated high school, and maybe the other 2 got GEDs. And out of the 13, I think 8 graduated from college. So my mom did a great job in instilling that in us early, the importance of education. And so, just like that's where I ended up, because of my, understanding that, is going to school, and we didn't have a lot of choices in my household. We were going to go to school, we were going to go to church. Those 2 places we were going to be. And so I understood that. So, I always carried that with me, that, that being a priority for me coming up gave me the opportunity to do what I do for a living. So, and I was one of our kids telling me, it was 3 C's, 3 E's, and when you finish playing up for us, we want you to graduate high school, obviously, but we want you to have an opportunity to enroll, in a college or university of your choice, enlist in a branch of the military, or become gainfully employed so you can take care of yourself and someone else. So those are 3 E's we talk about in our program, that we want our kids to have an opportunity to do, because not everybody's going to college. We get that. But at least get a high school diploma to give yourself a chance. So that's a big part of it for us. So in doing that, hey, the Scholar Athlete opportunity is there to recognize your football team and make sure everybody understands, not just the players and parents or the principal of the school, that, hey, we're going to put the academic piece first. So making sure they understand, hey, we're going to collectively have a 3.0 GPA. If you're not doing your part, as a student athlete, as a football player, to help us attain that, then, we're going to have to do some things to try to get your attention, or we're going to remove you from our program because we don't have shared values when it comes to your academic success. So very proud of that.
Absolutely. So in your last few seasons, you were able to coach your son, Deuce. I know that has to be a coach's dream, to coach your son, especially coaching your son who's good at the sport and playing at a high level, because that's really cool. And you guys had a lot of success. This past year was a senior year, and you guys finished 13-1 and were in the 6A state championship game. Just kind of talk about that experience coaching your son. Share with us.
Yeah. Man, wouldn't trade for anything in the world, man. Great 4 years. He actually, as an 8th grader, started in our spring game, his 8th grade year. So he was a guy that early on, was thrown in the fire, and not
Yeah.
because, that's just the way it happened, So, he understood early on coming up that, I wasn't going to force him to play football. I actually thought early on he's going to be a baseball guy. He's a lefty, could throw
Yeah.
baseball pretty good. And I just thought baseball would probably be a sport. But, obviously he was at practice every day with me probably since he was 2 or 3 years old. And, he had a love for football. But it wasn't something I was going to force on him because I was a football coach, because I used to coach basketball as well, and even coach baseball one season. I was a track coach. So, but I did want him involved in sports, whether, it'd be basketball, baseball, or football. It didn't matter. It's just, hey, let's get involved in something, because I just think kids are involved in extracurricular activity have a higher rate of success than those that, don't statistics show those kids involved in extracurricular. It doesn't matter if it's sports or band or cheer or whatever the case may be, beta club. If they're involved in something other than just being a student that comes to school every day, they have a reason to be there. And so that was important for me with my children. My daughter played basketball, played volleyball, actually was part of the state championship basketball team here at Hattiesburg, was one of the starting guards on that team. So we're a huge sports family, because I understand the importance of it for those students, not to say that they couldn't have been successful if they didn't play sports or involved. I just think the success rate for those guys and girls that have something else to look forward to other than coming to school or what have you, just, it is, in my eyes, very important. So, but just making sure he understood it wasn't something he had to do. But if you're going to do it, you're going to put the work in to be good at it. And it just so happened he ends up playing quarterback, which is the toughest position on the field to play, whether people think it is or not, because you have to know what everybody does on offense, but you better have an idea what they're doing on defense as well. So that's one of the things I always tell people about him. He's probably the most intelligent football player I've ever coached. He understood, and he probably studied more film than I did. A lot of days I get home from practice, he's watched practice film twice already. So he can come and tell me that on this play right here, watch this or watch that, or on this, I need to do that. So it'll make my job really easy coaching him and, being able to correct him. And, so really enjoyed it. Again, wasn't traded for nothing in the world. And, fortunately, we had a great run. He had a lot of success, his senior year. And I've told him that often, man, you had a great senior year. Yeah, we didn't win a state championship, but, man, we got there. And, man, what an opportunity. What a journey we've had, as father and son. So, that was just huge for me personally as a dad. But, obviously he was important to our football team as well.
Yeah, what's funny is you're kind of talking about talking to your son about the film. He was watching the film and talking to you about it. Well, Coach, I know that quarterback head coach relationship is very important, but you guys had it on the next level. So is that really has to help your team, and obviously it did. You guys want to talk a little bit about this last season, 13-1 record, lost in the 6A state championship game to Grenada. But, I mean, even though it didn't end the way you guys wanted to, you won every game up to that point, and even won a big game against Picayune there in the South State Championship. And that was came down to the end. And so just kind of take us through that season and just kind of what made that team special.
Well, we knew coming out of last season, disappointing loss last year in the playoffs to Pascagoula. That was a really good football team. We had a lot of those guys coming back, and so we knew we had an opportunity to have a special team this year. You never know how good you're going to be, but you got an opportunity. You got pieces in place, and I tell anybody, anytime you got your starting quarterback coming back, it's going to make you better. And so fortunately for us, we had a guy that had been started for 4 years, so we knew we'd be better at that position. And, and obviously we had some great pieces around him. That was the key to it, having those pieces around him to put around him. So everything wasn't on him. He had a great supporting cast, from the offensive lines, our receivers, tight end, running backs, H-backs, so that was huge for us. And as we got into the season, man, we knew we had about 9 or so starters coming back on defense. So we knew our defense was going to be really, really good if we didn't screw it up. And Coach Kraft and those guys on the side of the ball did a great job. And our defense carried us all year. That was for us as a team, that was the strength of our football team, was our defense. We knew we could lean on them. I even told our coaches in the spring, and I told them, our team, I said, we're going to go for a lot on fourth down this year. And we probably went for it. I don't know what the numbers were at the end of the season, but we went for it a lot on fourth down. because we trusted our defense, and just kind of adapt a little bit in the offseason into the analytics, and the analytics say, hey, if you can pick up 3 or 4 yards on first down, then, it's probably a go on fourth down, regardless where the ball is, So we had some guidelines we went by. We're going to go forward inside our own 10 on fourth down, but we were picking up 3-4 yards or whatever. And we had explosive plays, and we were going to go for it because we trusted our defense. And those guys bailed us out time and time again this year when we wasn't able to convert on fourth down. So we knew we had a chance to have a special group. And obviously, when the season got started, anytime you can beat your rivals early on, because we're going to play 3 teams early on that's going to be as good as anybody year in and year out. And that's going to always be pedal, law, or no growth, And so, when you can beat those 3 guys early on, then you go on the road and beat a pretty good Biloxi team, and our kids' confidence started to soar, and, kind of took off from there. And you talked earlier about the Picayune game, the South State Championship game, which was huge, man. And, going to that game, coming out the Pascagoula game, we lose our starting nose guard against Pascagoula with a broken ankle. We get there that Monday, we find out Danny Dozen and our best defensive lineman, Kevin Otis, he has to be rushed to the emergency room that Monday morning and had emergency gallbladder surgery. And so we're going to, and this thing people didn't know, And so we're going to the Picayune game, where if you ever need your defensive line to be healthy, it's this game, So we're going to that game down to our best defensive lineman. And man, they're going to run the football. So, got to figure out ways. So I thought our team did a great job, man. Our kids, being resilient that week, man, persevering through adversity and, overcoming and going on the road to a tough Picayune team and beating them at their home, in the South State Championship game. And I think that took a lot of our kids, and that was just, it was a huge, huge game for our team. And, to finally get to that state championship and have an opportunity, man, what a journey, and that's something I'll forever remember and felt be grateful for these players on this team, man, and this coaching staff. So just, so excited for the season we had. Obviously, no, it didn't end the way we wanted to end, but, it doesn't negate what they were able to accomplish this year as a football team. And that's winning 13 straight games, man. And, doing it the right way. Great group of guys, great character, group of character guys. And, they fought hard, man, all year to win each and every week and did things we asked them to do. And, I told them after the game, guys, we're not going to let one game define our season. We had a great season. And, yes, we would have loved to have won that game. But, it wasn't meant to be because we didn't win. I'm one of those guys. I believe what's meant to be is meant to be. We tried to do this interview a few weeks ago. It didn't happen. But hey, guess what? We're doing it now. So, it was meant to be.
That's right.
So I'm one of those guys, again, like I stated earlier, I see the glass half full rather than half empty. And, but had a great season, man. Had some great players on this football team. Got a great team coming back, and I was often asked, you got a great team coming back. Why retire now? It was just time. It's time for me to move on to the next chapter of my life and see what's next for Coach Vance, wouldn't give anything for the 12 years we spent here at Hattiesburg. I've coached some great players, had great administrative support, great support from people in the community, man. And, I'm big on supporters, and we've had a lot of great supporters since we've been here. I'm not a big fan guy. Fans come and go, and, sometimes fans only fans when you're hot, and they only blow when you're hot. So I'm not big on having fans. I'm big on having supporters, man. The supporters are going to support you, win or lose. And we've got some great supporters here in Hattiesburg, man. And I can't say thank you enough to our supporters and those people that have supported us, whether it's community members or alumni or former players or, businesses or elected officials, our administrative, our teachers, our staff. We've had great support, in the 12 years we've been here. And I'm so thankful for that.
Absolutely. And going back to talking about the retirement decision, I mean, I don't know if everybody understands the timing is very important because, the timing of your decision and your announcement allowed Hattiesburg to be able to move on to the next season, because if you'd have decided that in the spring, you'd put the team in a bad position. So just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, man. My administrators wasn't caught off guard. We've been talking about this for a couple of years now. And pretty much if anybody knows me that's had a conversation with me, I've always said, hey, I'm probably going to walk out that door when my son graduates. So it wasn't something that just all of a sudden, hey, I'm retiring, but, it just worked out, and, so my administrators wasn't caught off guard. Obviously, they would love me to come back and, but I just, at the end of the day, it's like I told them, man, it's just time, it works out, it gives me an opportunity to try to, be able to watch my son play. And I want to be able to do that. I've been able, had an opportunity to leave several times since I've been at Hattiesburg to take other jobs, even college jobs that I've turned down because I didn't want to move my son. I wanted him to graduate from Hattiesburg High School. That was important to me, that, he finished his career here, but, just the timing of it. For me, I always told him, like, whenever it is, I'm not going to put y'all in a bad spot. Whenever I decide to walk away, you're going to know pretty early on. So, there was some discussion, even all the way back in January with my administrators, like, hey, this probably could be it for me. And I'm definitely going to let y'all know I'm not going to leave you in a bad spot. So, immediately we played that Saturday, and that Monday, I did meet with my AD and, my administrators here and let them know that I had decided to retire and, move on. So they'd have ample amount of time to find the next guy, because I thought that was the fairest thing to do to Hattiesburg and care so much about this program and this city and the school here that I wasn't going to put them in a bad spot. So,
yeah, for sure. Last question for you, Coach. We really appreciate you joining us. This is Coach Tony Vance with us here today on the pregame show. So, Coach, what would be your advice to a young coach that was in your position when you got started?
I think the biggest thing I'd tell any young coach, man, you get to a room, you get to the staff meeting, sit down, shut up, and listen. Don't go in there with all the answers. Don't go in there with, and there's nothing wrong with having ideas, but don't go in there, with all the answers, and respect the other guys in the room. But, listen, sit down and listen. See, get the lay of the land. See how things, operate. See how they do things there. But above all that, man, be loyal to your head coach. I think that's first and foremost. Be loyal to the head coach, support his ideas. And I always tell guys, like, I'm gonna paint a picture every year. I'm gonna meet with our staff 3 or 4 times a year, and hey, this is our vision, and this is what we're gonna be about, and here's our goals. I think that's important as a head coach that you do that not once but several times a year, because you have to repaint that picture for them and make sure they understand. And even if you got new coaches on your staff, they need to understand, like, this is the way we do things. Here's our vision. I always tell our guys, look, this is my vision. And your vision doesn't have to be mine because you're not the head coach, but you got to share my vision as a head coach. And when you become a head coach, then, use your vision and, get your guys to follow your vision. So that was always important to me, that as a young assistant coach, to understand the vision of the head football coach. And, hey, I didn't always agree, and I tell people all the time, I'm not telling you the way we do things is the only way to do it. I'm not telling you it's the best way to do it. But I'm just telling you, this is how we do it. And we've had a lot of success doing it that way. So that's why I always tell people, so figure out, how the head coach works, how he operates, and what he wants from you, and do it that way. And, don't, I was just be loyal, man. Like I said, you ain't going to always agree. I tell guys when I interview them for positions, I don't want to hire yes men. I don't want people that are going to yes everything I do. I want guys with ideas that can bring something new to the table. And I often tell people all the time, I don't want to be the smartest guy in the room, because if I'm the smartest guy in the room, we're in trouble. So I, so as a young coach, man, it's great to have ideas, and there's a time and place to, get with your head coach, say, what about this right here, coach? But as a young head coach, man, be loyal, to the head coach, listen, learn, as much as you can. But, above all that, man, and I hate to have to say this, but come to work every day. Come to work every day. It's important that you're there every day. And I learned a long time ago, man, if you're going to be a great football coach, you better be a great teacher. So get it done in the classroom. There's a big difference between being a great position coach and being a great assistant coach. Great position coaches, they're good at what they do. If they coach running backs or quarterbacks, or they're really good at what they do, they got the drills, carries over the game film. They're really good at what they do. But being a great position coach doesn't necessarily make you a great assistant coach. And I want great assistant coaches that can become great position coaches, because here's the reality of it. And I always ask my guys this, what makes you a great assistant coach? What's the difference between a position coach, a great position coach, and a great assistant coach? And the definition for me is real simple. The job of a great assistant coach is simple. It's to make the head coach's job easier, period. Yeah. So whatever that encompasses, coming to work, turning in lesson plans, being on duty, doing what you're supposed to do, like, that's how you be a great assistant coach. And I think if you're ever going to be a great head coach, you better be a great assistant coach.
For sure. So that, folks, right there is Coach Tony Vance, and we really appreciate you joining us, Coach. And thank you all for listening and viewing. This is the pregame show. I'm Trellis Williams, your host, and until next week, we out.